He need not isolate them. Not having spread, isolate him for 7 days, they shall live apart. These phrases can be found on any newspaper, in any language, anywhere in the world. But would it surprise any of you to learn that none of these phrases come from any newspaper anywhere in the world? These words were written thousands of years ago and are found in this week's Torah portion, Parashat Tazria Mitzorah. This week, the Torah shifts away from sacrifices to something much more intensely personal, the human body. And the Torah makes it clear. The body is a place where holiness happens. And it continues to detail tzara'at, as Rabbi Shulman shared with us just a few moments ago, a disease prevalent in ancient times. And what makes this even more uncanny, given all that we are dealing with and facing today, the Torah also describes how such a condition, tzara'at, can show up in clothing and other surfaces as well. So I ask you again, do these ancient words not sound eerily familiar? The parasha also describes in great detail what criteria the Kohen, the priest, the high priest himself, would use in determining who should be placed outside of the camp and who remained inside the camp for further observation. But it's important to note that the effort made by the Kohen was to be inclusive, not exclusive. In a world where all of us are feeling more and more isolated each and every day, it's appropriate this Shabbat to pause and ponder this very topic. You know, the idea of placing someone outside of the camp, it really starts at an early age. Think for a moment about almost every playground game or backyard game that any child plays. Really, the goal of each game is not to be placed on the outside. Take, for example, one of my personal favorite games, Gaga, or Capture the Flag, or Tag, or Simon Says. The winner of all of these games is the last one to not be placed on the outside of the camp, the outside of the game. Because they're the last ones to be tagged, the last one to be caught, or the only one properly copying the instructions in the example of Simon Says. But this idea of placing someone outside is not only found in children's games. It also has roots in our tradition. Have you ever heard of the concept cherem? Cherem means excommunication. Cherem was considered the most severe form of punishment. In fact, cherem required an entire Jewish community to cut off all ties with the person being excommunicated, putting them outside of the camp. So whether playing something as fun and innocent as a children's game, or something far more serious like cherem, when we don't know what to do with someone in a particular situation, the idea of putting them outside of the camp seems to be the answer we all give. But sometimes the form of being outside of the camp originates for different reasons. Take, for example, the new hit show on Netflix called Unorthodox. It's based on a true story of Esty Feldman. It's the story of a woman leaving her Hasidic upbringing and arranged marriage to live outside of the camp, risking everything to leave that life behind. But sadly, I would say, even today, we continue to put people outside of the camp on a regular basis, whether it's intentional and most often unintentional. All of us, all too often, take on the role of the Kohen, deciding who has tzara'at, placing them outside. I was recently reminded of the lyrics, originally from a 1929 blues song by Jimmy Cox, but made more famous, which is why I know it, by Janis Joplin and Eric Clapton. Listen to these words. They're very powerful. In your pocket, there ain't no money. It's as for friends, you don't have any. When you finally get yourself up on your feet again, everyone wants to be your long-lost friend. It's mighty strange, but there ain't no doubt. Nobody loves you when you are down and out. These are powerful words because all of us have been down and out, outside of the camp at one point or another in our lives. As it turns out, I turn to the wisdom of our tradition to find responses to this idea of moving people outside of the camp. And today's Torah reading also teaches that if the priest had any doubt about an individual, the priest would keep him or her within the camp, not sending them out to isolation. Last night, Rabbi Shulman asked a trivia question in the form of a riddle. So now I have a trivia question for you, but it's not in the form of a riddle. Do you know the most commonly repeated mitzvah in the Torah? Think about it for 1 second. The most commonly repeated mitzvah in the Torah. I'm going to give you 3 hints. It is not Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. It's not Shamor et Yom HaShabbat, safeguard or keep, protect the sanctity of Shabbat. And it is not any one of the 10 commandments. The most commonly repeated mitzvah in the entire Torah is safeguarding and protecting the outsider, the ger, the yatom, and the almanah. This is the response the Torah provides us this Shabbat. Now let me just share with you a few ways that our Beth El community has responded to this challenge of those feeling outside of the camp. And it is not too late for any of you to hear the call and get involved. Since the start of this horrible pandemic, Beth El delivered countless kosher for Passover packages to members unable or uncomfortable to leave their home in preparation for the Pesach Seder. Our board of directors has been busy connecting with members who are most vulnerable. Our teens from our United Synagogue Youth Department will be making and are making calls to members missing one-on-one conversations. Our Tikkun committee is still supporting local homeless shelters whose need is greater than ever. And finally, look to your emails either this week, I hope, if not the week after, and all of you can respond to the call on how you can help support Beth El's work among many other wonderful organizations you already support, and be certain that our fellow at-risk San Diegans feel like insiders. This first Shabbat of Iyar, may we continue to build a Beit El, a house of God, working together to not let anyone in our influence feel outside the camp. Instead, may they only feel our loving and welcoming presence. And in doing so, we all, as a community, fulfill the words of the ethical teachings of Pirkei Avot, Al tifros min hatzibor. Do not let anyone be or feel separated from community. And as always, be safe and call someone to tell them that you love them.